Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, adapted for English learners by Story Steps. Chapter 6, A Mad Tea Party. Alice walked along the forest path until she saw a strange house ahead. The roof was shaped like long ears, and the chimney looked like it was covered with fur. In front of the house stood a long table under a large tree. 3 creatures sat around it: the March Hare, the Hatter, and a small Dormouse who seemed to be sleeping between them. The table was covered with teacups, plates, spoons, sugar bowls, and many teapots. Everything was in a great mess. As Alice came closer, the March Hare and the Hatter both cried out, "No room! No room!" Alice looked at the table. There were many empty chairs. "There is plenty of room," she said, and sat down in a large chair at one end. The March Hare poured tea into a cup, then pushed it away. "Would you like some wine?" he asked. Alice looked around the table. "I do not see any wine," she said. "There is no wine," said the March Hare. "Then it was not very polite to offer it," Alice said. "It was not very polite of you to sit down without being asked," the March Hare replied. Alice felt herself getting a little angry, but she tried to stay calm. "I did not know it was your table," she said. "There were many empty seats." The Hatter leaned toward her and looked at her face. "Your hair needs cutting," he said. "That is a very rude thing to say," Alice answered. "You should not make personal comments." The Hatter did not seem to care. He put his watch into a cup of tea, shook it and listened to it. "Very strange," he said. "It is always 6 o'clock. "Why is that strange?" Alice asked. "Because it is always tea time," said the Hatter. "We never have time to wash the cups. When they get dirty, we just move to a clean place at the table." Alice looked at the table. Many cups were half full and there were bits of food everywhere. "You must run out of clean places," she said. "We do," said the Hatter. "That is our problem." The Hatter suddenly looked at Alice with bright eyes. "I have a riddle for you," he said. "Why is a raven like a writing desk?" Alice liked riddles. "I think I can guess the answer," she said. She thought hard for a moment, but she couldn't think of anything. "Do you know the answer?" she asked the Hatter. "No idea," said the Hatter. "Nor I," added the March Hare. Alice felt annoyed. "Then you should not ask riddles without answers," she said. "It is a waste of time." The Hatter shook his head. "Time is not something you can waste," he said. "Time is a person. He does things for you if you are kind to him, but he is still angry with me." "What did you do?" Alice asked. "I sang a song for the Queen, and she said I was killing time. Since then it has been 6 o'clock for me forever. It is always tea time, and we never have time to do anything else." The Dormouse, who had been sleeping the whole time, suddenly spoke without opening its eyes. "Tell a story," it said softly. "Yes, tell us a story," cried the March Hare. The Dormouse slowly opened one eye. "Once upon a time," it began, "there were 3 little sisters. They lived at the bottom of a well." "What did they live on?" asked Alice. "They lived on treacle," said the Dormouse. "It is like honey, sweet and golden." "But you cannot live on treacle," Alice said. "You would be sick." "They were sick," said the Dormouse. "Very sick." Alice tried to understand the story, but it made no sense. The Dormouse's voice grew slower and slower. Soon it was asleep again. The Hatter poured a little cold tea on the Dormouse's nose. It woke up with a jump. "I was not asleep," it said. I heard every word. Change places, the Hatter suddenly cried. Everyone moved around the table. The March Hare sat where the Hatter had been. The Dormouse moved into Alice's seat, still half asleep. Alice found herself in a sticky place covered with bits of food and jam. "This is the silliest tea party I have ever seen," she said. "If you do not like it, you can leave," said the Hatter. "That is exactly what I will do," Alice said. She stood up and walked away from the table without saying goodbye. As she left, she saw the Hatter and the March Hare trying to push the Dormouse into a large teapot. "This place is quite mad," she said to herself, "but at least I am leaving." She walked back into the forest. After a short time, she saw something unusual. A tree had a little door in its side. "That is strange," she said. "I do not remember seeing this before." She tried the little door and found that it opened easily. Behind it was the long hallway, where she had first arrived after falling down the rabbit hole. The glass table stood in the middle, and the tiny door to the garden waited behind the curtain. "How lucky I am!" Alice cried with excitement. She took out the little golden key and unlocked the tiny door. Then she ate a small piece of mushroom from her pocket until she became just small enough to walk through. On the other side, the beautiful garden shone in the warm sunlight. Bright flowers of every colour grew everywhere, and she could see fountains in the distance. Green trees stood tall against the blue sky. It was the most beautiful place Alice had ever seen. "At last," Alice said quietly, stepping through the small doorway. "I have finally reached the garden." She smiled happily and began to walk along a stone path, wondering what wonderful things she would find in this new part of Wonderland.